She walked into the grand party in a simple dress, clutching her small purse with nervous fingers. The hall sparkled with chandeliers and designer gowns, and every eye turned to her not in welcome, but in judgment. Whispers followed her every step. She didn't belong, they said. She wasn't one of them. A rich woman sneered at her shoes. Another laughed loudly about her thrift store outfit. Even the waiters treated her differently, as if they'd been told not to bother. But she kept her head high, trying to stay invisible in a world built to exclude her. Among the sea of elegance and egos, one family stood out: the hosts. Known for their wealth and pride, they made no effort to hide their disapproval. Their words were sharp, their smiles fake. They humiliated her in front of everyone, asking her who invited her, suggesting she must have come by mistake. Just as she was about to quietly leave, humiliated and heartbroken, a calm voice broke through the noise. A man stepped forward from the crowd, and the room fell silent. What he said next left everyone stunned, changed everything in an instant. You won't believe who he was, and what he revealed. Everyone turned to look. The man was tall, dressed in a sharp suit that looked effortless on him, and his presence alone seemed to shift the air in the room. People started whispering again, but this time with curiosity and unease. It was Ryan Sterling, the only son of the billionaire who owned the estate. No one expected him to show up tonight. He rarely attended these parties, especially ones filled with shallow small talk and fake smiles. Yet here he was, standing beside the woman everyone had mocked, his eyes scanning the crowd with quiet disappointment. The rich family, clearly embarrassed, tried to laugh it off. She must be an old friend, right? One of them said, forcing a grin. But Ryan didn't smile. He looked at the woman beside him, then back at his family, the very people who had just humiliated her without even knowing who she was. The room grew heavy with tension. Everyone wanted to know, why was Ryan defending her? Who was she, really? And what secret had brought her into this world of wealth and arrogance? The woman, still silent, kept her eyes lowered, but there was something in her expressions, something that said this night wasn't going the way anyone expected. Ryan's mother stepped forward, her smile tight. Ryan, sweetheart, we were just having a bit of fun. No harm meant, but he didn't budge. His gaze didn't waver. Fun, he said, quietly. Mocking someone you don't even know, that's fun now. The silence grew thicker. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, some already regretting their laughter. Still, no one truly understood who this woman was or why Ryan cared so much. The woman, Emily, finally looked up. Her eyes met Ryan's, and something passed between them: history. Maybe, or a secret only they shared. She took a shaky breath, but still said nothing. A man near the bar whispered, "Is she his girlfriend?" Someone else muttered, "No way, she's too plain." The crowd buzzed with questions, each more cruel than the last. Emily could feel the heat of their judgment crawling across her skin in a far corner of the room. A woman in a red dress watched closely. Her name was Vanessa Ryan's former fiancée, or so people thought. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She knew Emily, and she knew that if Emily was back in Ryan's life, something was about to unravel. Something big. Secrets buried in wealth. And lies had a way of crawling back to the surface when least expected. Vanessa slowly made her way across the room, heels clicking against the marble floor, every step deliberate. The moment she reached Ryan and Emily, her voice dripped with false sweetness. "Emily, I never thought I'd see you here again. You still like crashing parties, I see." Emily didn't flinch. She just stared at her, calm but unreadable. Ryan shifted slightly, as if preparing for something he knew was coming. More guests were gathering now, pulled in by the whispers and tension. The room no longer buzzed with light-hearted chatter, it was thick with curiosity and judgment. The wealthy guests, used to being entertained, now had front row seats to something far more real. Vanessa turned to Ryan. "Does your father know she's here? Does he even know who she really is?" Her words hung in the air, challenging, daring. Ryan's jaw tightened. He glanced at his mother, then at the patriarch of the family. Seated silently in the back, his expression unreadable. Emily finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "I didn't come here to cause trouble. I just needed the truth to come out." One way or another, that one sentence shifted the room again. What truth? Whispers turned into murmurs of concern. Faces once smug now showed flickers of doubt. Something was coming, something none of them were ready for. Before anyone could respond, the heavy wooden doors at the back of the hall swung open. A man in a tailored gray suit stepped in, holding a thick envelope in his hand. Hello? He wasn't part of the usual crowd. No one recognized him. But the moment he locked eyes with Ryan's father, the room seemed to freeze. The man walked straight toward the front, ignoring the murmurs and curious stares. Reaching the center of the room, he spoke loud enough for all to hear. "I was asked to deliver this tonight, privately, but seeing the circumstances, I think it's better everyone knows." Ryan's father rose slowly from his seat, his face pale. "That won't be necessary," he said, his voice strained. But the man was firm. "It concerns your son and her." He gestured to Emily, whose hands now gripped the edge of the table. Ryan stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "What is it?" he asked. The man opened the envelope and pulled out several documents: birth records, financial transfers, and a faded photo of a woman holding a newborn. Gasps rippled through the crowd as people caught glimpses of the papers. Vanessa's face went pale. Ryan's mother sank back, visibly shaken. Emily whispered, barely audible, "I told you the truth had to come out." And just like that, every lie the Sterling family built their image on was one word away from collapse. Ryan took the documents from the man's hand, eyes scanning each page quickly. His breath caught when he reached the birth certificate. It was his father's name listed as the father, but not of him. Of Emily, the room erupted into stunned gasps. Emily looked down, tears welling, but not falling. "I didn't want to come here like this," she said softly, "but your family left me no choice." Ryan turned to his father, voice shaking. "You told me I was your only child." The older man looked away, silent. Ryan's mother stepped forward, voice trembling. "We knew she was the result of an affair. I wanted it buried." Emily flinched at the word. "You buried more than the truth," she said. "You buried my mother's dignity. She died thinking no one would ever acknowledge her." Vanessa looked stunned. "So you're his sister?" she whispered, almost to herself. Ryan turned to Emily with something new in his eyes. "Respect. You should have been part of this family from the start." But before the room could settle, the delivery man spoke again. "There's one more thing. Mr. Sterling, your late business partners estate, he left his shares to his granddaughter." He handed one final page to Emily. Emily stared at it, shocked. "My grandfather." The man nodded. "You now own 40% of Sterling Enterprises." The crowd froze again, not from scandal, but from fear. Emily, once mocked, now held power that none of them had seen coming. The room stood in stunned silence as Emily held the paper that changed everything. The same people who laughed at her now couldn't meet her eyes. Ryan stepped beside her, offering quiet support, not because of the shares, but because he finally saw her for who she truly was. A sister wronged, a daughter hidden, and a woman who rose through pain with grace. His father looked smaller now, weighed down by his choices. "I'm sorry," he said, voice heavy with regret. Emily gave a small nod, not as forgiveness, but as closure. Vanessa slipped away unnoticed, her plan to humiliate Emily shattered. The rich guests, once proud and loud, whispered apologies before quietly leaving, their masks slipping with each step. Emily didn't need revenge. Her truth had spoken louder than anything money could buy. Days later, headlines spoke of the surprise heir of Sterling Enterprises, but Emily avoided the spotlight. She used her shares to build scholarships for women like her mother, smart, strong, overlooked. She didn't come from wealth, but she now stood above it, not because of her last name, but because she never let it define her. And in the end, the simple woman who was humiliated left with dignity and the last word.